You've worked hard to reach where you are, but what happens when your goals shift or something more calls you forward? What happens when the market changes? Sometimes growth brings questions, whether it's guilt for wanting more or fear of what leaving your comfort zone might mean. Today's episode is giving you permission to lean into what's next without hesitation. When you grow, your impact grows with you. And if you've been waiting for a sign, consider this your permission to move forward. All right, friends, let's go. Welcome to Impact Innovators with Felicia Ford, where we dive into the strategies that empower changemaker brands to leave a lasting legacy. Think of this podcast as your audio playbook for meaningful action. What's possible when thought leaders, disruptors, and pioneers align to share their journeys? I'm Felicia Ford, your host, bringing together the brightest minds and the most groundbreaking ideas to help you drive change, navigate through the sticky stuff, and elevate your brand. Whether you're tackling funding hurdles, looking for growth strategies, or seeking the perfect balance between profit and purpose, we've got you covered. Stay tuned and be a part of a movement that's setting new benchmarks in how we think about progress, community, and doing. Let's innovate, impact, and inspire. Now, if you know me, you know I'm a firm believer in ambition and adventure and dreaming. And so it's not something that I shy away from, but, I've never been one to hold back. If there's a challenge in front of me, I'm like, all right, let's figure this out. If there's an opportunity in front of me, I'm definitely going to weigh, my options and say, all right, let's do this. I typically step into things, decisive and completely sure of myself and sure of my abilities. And I'm really not waiting for someone to tell me that it's my time. I know when it's my time. I know what I want. I know where I'm going. So I know that I have that in common with a lot of you that are listening. But, here's something that I've learned along the way that, even when you're moving full throttle, even when you've accomplished something great, something incredible, that there's always another level waiting for you. Okay. There's always a bigger dream just beyond what you thought was possible. And, some people like to sit in the like, all right, I'm done. What's next? And some are like, no, no, no. That's it. That's all I got. There's no more fuel. We're gonna cruise here. If you follow me on social, you've been following me the last 4 years or so, then you've seen me use the hashtag start something. And the reason why I did that was because at some point early 2020, so before the world changed, I recognized in some of the circles that I was in that there was some hesitation from people when they had opportunities come their way. And I didn't know what that really meant because I hadn't experienced it myself. So, you might see for yourself and for others, sometimes the hardest part is starting. It's realizing that this idea of what you've envisioned and what you've built isn't the finish line, right? It's just the foundation. There's a legacy to be built here, and so we don't want to hold back, right? We don't want to delay. We want to consider, what does it look like to expand your capacity to dream even bigger, even when things are already good. Because, friends, the truth is, every time that I have said to myself, "Oh, I like it here." Like, quick story, there were about 3 times in my life when I was an employee at 3 companies, and I was like, "Oh my god, I really love it here. I love the job. I love the people. There's not a long commute, and this is where I'm gonna retire. This is where I'm gonna stay, and that's gonna be my thing." And I'm telling you, every time something happened shortly after me thinking that or saying that, and I would say it was the third time, and I finally was like, "Okay, God, what are you doing? What are you telling me? What's happening here? Am I not supposed to be comfortable here? Am I not supposed to want to stay here?" And obviously, no. And so even though I one time thought in undergrad, hey, I'm going to one day own a management consulting firm. I hadn't completely believed it because I had done nothing with it, right? I'd done nothing with it. But so I'm saying that to say life has always shown me that there's more. And every time, you know, after those lessons, now I'm like, all right, what's next? We finish a thing and it's like, okay, what's next? So today I'm sharing with you 4 tips on what it's like to give yourself permission to dream bigger about what's next and embracing what's next. I know for a fact that many of you, let's be real, you're out here pouring into other people. You're doing the most for your community and you're doing the most for your team and your families and you're giving, giving, giving. And then when it comes to thinking about your own goals, there might be this thought of like, oh, well, I don't really have time for that because, I got to do this and got to do that. Got to take care of the team. Got to get this presentation done. Got to respond to these emails. Got to make sure the insurance is taken care of. Got to do this BOI report. uh I got to do this, right? And it's sometimes that you being able to dream bigger doesn't become a reality because you're focusing on, well, I got to maintain the dream that I already have. Okay. I completely understand. But here's the thing. If you don't expand your vision, you're going to limit your impact. And sometimes expanding your vision means a new division, a new offer, a new partner, a new office, um, a new brand, a new color, right? It's so many variations of what your expanded vision looks like, but it's not up to me to tell you that. It's you, right? So just remember, expand your vision, expand your impact. Don't expand your vision, you're going to limit your impact, okay? I want number 2, I want you to consider challenging your mindset with a reframe. So, personal ambition, right? You might think, I don't have time for this, or, I'm not important. I just got to make sure everyone else is taken care of. We're not going to look at this from an ego perspective. We're going to look at this from a responsibility perspective. Think about the leaders that you admire. I promise you, they're not sitting around waiting for permission to do anything. Um, and when you are in a certain industry and your revenue is generated from certain spaces. So I'll say, like for nonprofits, you're basing your income and your funding on grants and sponsorships and things of that nature, unless you have fees for service. And then for some social impact businesses that are, counseling, therapy, behavioral health, your money is coming from insurances and, the federal government, and in some cases, the city government. But either way, you might have this mindset of like, oh, I can only do what they allow me to do. And I'm here, friend, to help you knock down that door. That's not completely true. All right. But give yourself permission to simply consider that if the people that you admire aren't sitting around waiting for permission, you also don't need to do that. Those people, they know when to grow. They know that when they grow, their entire organization grows and that their entire community grows along with them, right? So ambition is like planting a tree. Its roots grow deeper and the shade benefits everyone around it. So think about that, okay? All right. Number 3, normalize growth, okay? When I was at Harvard University, I have stories to tell, but I'm going to save those maybe for our in-person things. But um, one thing came very clear to me. I was around some of the most incredible people, similar energy, similar um, mindsets, but still very different. And the one thing that I absolutely loved was that everyone was so expressive and creative. And even if they were a little bit shy or quiet, like I'm truly an introvert. I just happen to like to talk about things that I love. So don't get it twisted. I am certainly an introvert. So I've met some introverts, I met some extroverts, but I love the eloquence, I love the storytelling, and I loved everyone's love for education there, right? At least that was my experience. So ambition was like a part of the air that we breathed while we were walking across campus and, in the classrooms and doing things. And no one was showing off. Everyone was simply owning who they were and owning their ability to bring forth their selves to the conversation. It was such an incredible experience. Um, Stepping into that space with other people where they're not threatened, I'm not threatened, and we just are all here operating in our zones of genius, but also open to learning and collaborating with one another, hands down, one of the best experiences of my life, right? And I say, if a bunch of people, smart people, can get together at that level and bring something together and move through difficult processes in a certain amount of time, then anyone can do it. Okay. Your growth is a part of the bigger picture. So now we're going to move into the last part of today's conversation. I want you to pause for a moment. And so if you're driving, obviously you can't do this. You can come back and do it later. But I want you to, if you're sitting in a quiet space, close your office door if you can. Make sure no one is going to bother you. You only need about 2 minutes to do this exercise. I typically do this with in the beginning of my either Design Your Life Visions and Dreams or in one of my courses. Um, so, what I'd like you to do is to close your eyes and think about the answers to these questions. Number one, what does the next level look like for you? If there were no limits on your time, your money, your resources, what would you build? Now, I'm purposely pausing here, right? And you certainly want to give yourself more time, but if you had no limits on your time, your money, or your resources, what would you build? What would things look like for you? Now, here's the key to this, my friend. Do not allow this vision, this feeling, this energy of the responses to these questions stay in your head. Okay. You can take one small step this week towards making it real. And one of the ways that you can do that, writing it down, telling a friend, and you can certainly join me next Thursday for a fireside chat because every 2 weeks during this series, we're going to meet together on video, reflect on the episode, and go into your questions and even into your responses. So there's a space for you to connect with me, connect with other change makers, and I hope to see you there. All right. If you haven't already voted, please make sure that you do, okay? Your voice matters, and this is the time to ensure that it's heard. And then one last thing that I have for you. So if you are excited, as I am, about our next issue of Strategic Edge Power Moves for Businesses and Nonprofits, I want you to head over to FeliciaFordandCo.com and you can join the magazine waitlist. So you're going to go over to, actually, here's a direct link. You can go to media.FeliciaFordandCo.com/power moves. This will allow you to be the first person or to be the first group of people on the list to hear about when it's going to be available. We produced this last year for the first time. It is a digital magazine. It is free to access. But friends, I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. If this episode resonated with you, if you have other business friends and you want to make this a business bestie opportunity, or you have other leaders on your team who need to be exposed to, some leadership development, I encourage you to share this episode. All right. We will see you next time. Hey, Changemaker, real quick before you go, if today's episode helped you in some way, the best way to thank me is to head over to Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the channel, and leave a review. I'd also love to connect with you over on social. You can find me at Friends Call Me Fee. Until next time, keep changing the game.